everyone. This is my third and presentation. Well, the and presentation. And this is my sister Makiah. And this is her first time playing this game with me. So we're going to have a little conversation about it. But first, we got to talk about something that I'm learning. And the one thing that I'm learning about right now is that we're learning about how the environment is a philosophical issue and how, like, your thought process can relate to what really is causing the environmental crisis to get out of hand, and how it's people's idea of, do I really care about the environment, or do I care about my own personal wants and desires? So, like, the idea that my professor brought up was that his professor, when he was in college, brought up that SUVs are what's going to save us from the environmental crisis. And the idea of that is that people could carpool, and eventually, like, you know, it saves gas, it creates less cars, creates less, therefore, greenhouse gases and toxic pollutants that are being emitted into the air. And it just makes it a much more healthier lifestyle choice to just carpool and have multiple people using one mode of transportation instead of, like, 20 cars for, like, one busload of people. So that's just, like, the idea of, like, but the idea is that how it connects to what we're learning in philosophy is that people's mindsets are not focused on trying to save the environment in that way. They're just focused on, oh, well, I want my own car because I have to drive my way to work and I have my own schedule to keep and I can't rely on other people to get me places. So that's their idea of, like, I don't know if I want to really give into that, or if I really do care about my environment, I would take a bus. So, like, things like that, of, like, simple things that we don't really think about on a day-to-day basis of how our mindset can affect the way that we feel about environmental crisis and what we're doing to solve that. So, my question that I want to ask you is, if you could pick a way to help solve the environmental crisis and the aspect of changing your mindset about something, what would you start thinking about if you could change something?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I feel like as Americans, we're not concerned about the environment. We're just concerned about ourselves. That's probably other people in the world, but I feel America mostly. But I guess what I would be most concerned about, or my first thought would try to be, like, water consumption and, like, you know, trying to save water, like, not use as much, because let's face it, we just, like, gotta wait for the water to get to the right temperature. It's too hot, nope, not usable, dump it out, you know. We should really try to save as much water as we can, because it's a luxury that not many have accessibility to.
Right. And, like, that can be, like, a philosophical issue too, because it's like, oh, well, do I care more about saving the water that I'm using, or do I care about, like, oh, well, I don't want my water too hot, or I don't want my water too cold, or, like, you're just, like, taking long showers and you're just like, yeah, well, I'm just gonna sit here under the water because I like it. But in reality, like, you're wasting, like, gallons and gallons of water, and, like, you don't really think about that all the time. Like, you don't really think, like, oh, maybe that's not so great for the environment, and maybe me taking a long shower isn't so great. But, like, it's just we don't really think about that sort of stuff. Like, all of those things, like water consumption, like what we drive to work every day, like what we're eating even. Like, if we're eating, like, locally grown foods and stuff like that, it's a lot healthier for the environment than eating, like, processed foods, like canned stuff and all that other stuff that you buy in the grocery store that's not so healthy. All that stuff is what's also giving into those kind of environmental pollutants and stuff like that. It's just, we don't really think, like, hey, like, maybe what I'm doing is making, like, a big difference, like, in everyday life. You know, we just do what we do. It's out of habit now. Like, you go to work, you go to school, you eat lunch, you throw your wrappers away, you drive your car there and back, and then you come home and you use the shower, you use the toilet, you like use all these things, And you don't really put too much thought into like, oh well, maybe I could try and like reduce my waste.
Yeah, like how
On the
can I
environment.
change my habits to be better for others
Right.
or the
And
planet?
like leaving lights on too. I just realized that one. Like leaving electronics running and lights on. You know, like that's really bad for the environment too. And just like it's just not very good to be using resources like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like whenever you try to like put your mindset onto it, where like you're trying to be conscious of like, am I using this? Am I using that? When you put your mindset to it of like making sure that you turn the lights off or making sure you turn the water off, like when you put it into your mind, you realize, oh, I really do use that much. Like I really do use a lot of water. Like just like when you're trying to save money. Like when you're trying to save money and you're monitoring every little penny that you're spending, you're like, ooh, everything is a lot more expensive now that I'm paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's exactly how I feel about like our resources. So like all the environmental resources that we're using, non-renewable and renewable, we're all spending them like we're spending money so freely until you realize like, hey, we really need to budget what we're using. So I just felt like that was something really interesting. Yeah. What do you think?
Basically the same thing. It's like if you make a conscious effort to like be aware of what's going on, like Finny, you should be more aware that we're trying to have a conversation. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sorry, my cat's being loud.
She's always loud. But yeah, just like being aware of how you live and how that like consumes, you know? Because there's only so much of certain resources on this planet. We're gonna run out one day. Let's just slow it down.
Right. It's all about like creating sustainable resources. Sorry. Finny, stop. Leave.
Bye.
Sorry about that. But it's all about like creating sustainable energy and like creating a sustainable lifestyle of just like having that ability to save our resources for like future generations. That way the earth doesn't just run out of stuff. Like one day the earth might run out of stuff. You never know. So
yeah, and I feel like that's kind of a reality that people don't face. Like when you live a certain way, you don't really notice. Like, how can I put this? It's like being sustainable isn't a priority because we don't notice that it's not causing a problem. You know, like we just live our normal lives. We don't notice anything different day to day. So it's none of our concern really about the environment because it's not causing a problem in our lives.
yeah, that's
And that's
true.
probably why it's not a priority.
Because like especially like where we live, like we live in a part of America where like the earth is, you know, we have clean water, we have clean air to breathe, we have good food, you know, we have clean ways of living. Like there's no like big areas of pollution around where we need to be like really concerned, like, oh my gosh, I'm living in garbage. Like we don't really have an area that we're living in where we need to like notice it. So just the idea of like, I think of places where there's like extreme smog or like really nasty water to drink, or like some places where they don't have those things like food and water and grocery stores and stuff like that, where it's like they're living such a different lifestyle, but which lifestyle is actually more beneficial for the environment? So it's like when you are growing all of your own food and you're harvesting all your own food and you're creating your own renewable energy, it's much more healthier of a lifestyle to live than going out picking stuff up, driving everywhere, like all that stuff that I said earlier. It's just that your lifestyle really is it plays a large part and a large role in the environmental crisis. So that was just what we were learning about, but we can get to the cards now if you want.
Sure. I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. You want to go first?
I'm dying to see what the other side of these cards look like. Fill in your own question. Dang, they're really gonna hit me with that one, the first one I get?
Yeah.
Okay then. Any question at all? Or just like a philosophical one?
Just like any question.
Any question.
It can be a question like specifically towards me or like a question just about anything.
Is it supposed to be just one question or all of them?
Just one question.
Okay. One question.
If you want, you can pick another one to get like an actual question.
Yeah, maybe just to start. We'll come back to that. What's the problem in your life you are comfortable having?
That's a good one, actually.
So what's a problem that's not really a problem?
A problem that I'm having in my life that I'm comfortable having. I would say the first thing that popped into my mind is like my mindset when it comes to problems. And I know that that sounds kind of weird, but I view it as a problem because I see issues in my life like conflict, any major conflict, and I just kind of avoid it. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll get back to that. And then I just like eventually like spin back around where I have time to think. And I'm like, okay, well, now that I can come back to that, now I can address it a little bit more clearly with a clear mindset. But I view it as a problem because that's literally avoiding things. And that's not really like the best option when it comes to like when you're like, especially with my boyfriend. Like, me and him will get into an argument, and I'm just like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna go to sleep. Like, I just really need to get some sleep and think this one over. But then he's sitting there, and he's like, you're just gonna leave me hanging? Like,
Hello?
what am I supposed to do? Like, so it's just, that's not really the best way to go about it, but that's, like, my coping mechanism, I guess. Where I'm just like, okay, well, let me just come back to that later, and I'm just gonna wrap my head around it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just feel like that's my problem, that I'm personally comfortable with it, but I feel like it makes everyone around me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it has its pros and cons. It's like gives you a minute to like cool down whatever kind of problem it is, even if it's like big or small. You like get to like step away and like really process and think, which usually makes to a good decision.
Right.
But then, like you said, it's also like if other people are involved, they're kind of just hanging out like,
what do I do?
When are we coming back to this, Madison?
Yeah.
When?
Right. And I mean, like, if it's something small, like, if it's something that I could easily fix and I know a solution, I'm just like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever, I can handle that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's, especially if it's, like, a conflict with another person, like, in a social aspect, like, especially, like, with my boyfriend or with mom or with, like, anyone that I'm, like, close to, and I'm just, like, talking to them and then suddenly they're mad at me or I'm mad at them or something like that, I feel like when I get irritable or when I get at that sense of like vulnerability, I say things that I don't mean, that I don't have the intention of, like I'll say something mean, and especially like when I'm fighting with someone, I'll be like, oh well, I think this, and then they'll automatically get offended, obviously because I'm being rude to them, but I feel like it's so much easier for me to just avoid that altogether, because I know how I get when I'm in a conflict with someone. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to say this to defend myself because I feel vulnerable. But I don't actually mean it in some cases. So I just, like, spit that out at them just to get them off my back and just be like, listen, I don't have exactly, like, the tool set to fix this right now, so please just get off my back about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's, like, that is a problem because I know that, like, my senses of irritability and stuff like that won't hold up in a conflict like that, and it's just going to make it worse. And I feel like that's why I automatically just try to avoid things at the very start, because I'm like, you know what, yeah, I'm just going to back out now before things get nasty.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my kind of fight or flight mode. I will like back up and I'll just be like, yeah, no, we're going to get back to that. So yeah, I feel like that's just, it is a problem, but it's a problem that I'm comfortable with because I feel like it helps me to, like you said, like take a minute, cool down, like get my head around the situation, and then come back to it with a level-headed mindset. And then it resolves a lot of conflict a lot faster for me, and it's easier for me to just avoid it.
That's true, because like, even if it's just like a problem that doesn't even matter, by the time you get back to it, it probably fizzles out. So it's like not even important anymore. You know?
Right.
And that's like, you know, like avoiding conflict that could have gotten worse, and it's just not a problem.
Yeah, like you just kind of wash your hands of it sometimes. But
exactly.
A lot of the times that don't happen, but
Yeah, well, sometimes it does.
yeah. And then, yeah, so I'm done talking about that one, but what do you think? What's the problem in your life that you are comfortable having?
Oh, we both get to answer them?
Yeah.
Okay. What's a problem in my life that I'm comfortable having? I would have to say, this sounds kind of depressing, but loneliness.
Loneliness?
Loneliness? I don't know. I always say I'm happy being single, and, like, I am. But then there are times when I'm not. But
Yeah.
overall, it's okay. And, like, it's kind of weird to say, but, like, I don't really have friends besides Nadine and Mo. And, like, Nadine is, like, family more than friend. So, yeah. I don't know. I just don't, like, put myself out there or hold on to people that I meet. And, like, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me, but I know that's not how normal people should be, I guess.
I don't really have friends other than Nadine and Mo also. Like, I have, like, some people at work that I'll, like, talk to, and then I'm like, yeah, you're my friend. But, like, at the same time, I'm like,
you're my friend now. We're having soft tacos later.
Yeah, right. But I see your point, though. Like, just having some close friends, I feel like, is important. But overall, like, you do admit that you're, like, comfortable being single, but, like, are you, though? Like, I don't feel like you really are. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing about these conversations is that you can ask questions back at them.
Ooh.
So, my question is, like, do you really feel like you're comfortable with that problem?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you?
I think so. Like, I don't know. Overall, I know how to make myself happy, and, like, if I'm isolated, I don't know. Just because I'm alone doesn't mean I'm always lonely. You know? Like, I like having alone time.
That's true. I like being alone sometimes, too.
Everyone needs alone time, just, like, I feel like I like it a little more than what's average.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes when it's, like, I have alone time, like, I spend the whole day in the house by myself, and then someone comes in, and I'm like, people.
But, like, at the same time, like, you think that, like, you just said, like, when somebody comes in and you're like, people. Like, I feel like with you, like, this is just my opinion of, like, knowing you. I feel like you are very, like, I will pick and choose when I want to be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a lot of people. But, like, at the same time, like, I feel like when you want to be around people, you're okay with being lonely. Like, even when you do want to be around people. And I feel like I'm the opposite. Like, when I really want to be around people, I'm, like, really depressed when I'm lonely. Or, like, if I don't want to be around people and people are around me, I get, like, very irritated very quickly. Because I'm like, these people are bothering me.
Yeah.
But, like, you, I feel like you're just very, like, mellow throughout the whole thing. You're just, like, that's just what I notice. Like, maybe it's not true, but what I notice is, like, you're, like, okay with people around. And, like, you'll get, like, a little bit irritated, but you don't really, like, get as irritated as me.
Mm.
Or, like, when you're lonely and you want somebody around, you'll just be like, I want to hang out with somebody. And then you'll just probably, like, play video games and forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's where, like, you and me are kind of different. Like,
when you're lonely, it's all you can think about. But when I'm lonely, I kind of just, like, do something else and take my mind off it.
Yeah. Like, I don't really have that ability like you do. No, that's just what I noticed.
That makes sense.
Like, you think that? Or...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have it the same way where it's, like, I feel like I'm only annoyed at people at home? Like...
Oh, no. I'm annoyed at people everywhere.
Yeah, like, there's... but that's just kind of like a passing emotion, though. Like, when I'm out in public and someone does something annoying, I usually forget about it in, like, 5 minutes. But then at home, if somebody's doing something annoying to me, I'm gonna hold on to that for the whole night. Like, that just ruined my whole day.
Yeah, I feel like that's, like, a point, too. Because, like, I feel like it's because, like, home is, like, your safe space. And, like, when I'm here, I'm like, I want to relax. I don't want anyone bothering me. I don't want anyone talking to me. And if you breathe weirdly near me, I'm going to be pissed. But, like, at the same time, it's like, you can't... I try so hard not to be irritated. But, like, sometimes I just get so irritated. Like, especially, like, when mom or dad or somebody, or even you sometimes, like, when somebody is irritating me, and I'm, like, especially Quincy. Quincy irritates me so
Yes,
much.
he does.
Like, I get it, he's only a dog, but like at the same time, it's like, can you please just back up? I don't want you looking at my food. I don't want you sniffing near me. Like, I love him, but like at the same time, like just being at home, I do see your point. It gets like so much more irritating, and it's like, like
I'm
I
gonna
just
blow.
I'm gonna blow. Yeah, right.
Man, I feel like when Quincy does stuff, he has like phases of like doing bad stuff and like being a good boy.
Kind of, yeah. But like at the same time, like I feel bad because then I get irritated at him and I'm like, can you just go away? And then he gets all upset and then he looks all depressed and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't want to make you upset. But like at the same time, you're irritating me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with Quincy. He's bad.
Bad dog.
Overall. Bad dog.
Next question.
Next question. Ooh. When was the last time you cried and why?
I don't know. I fake cry a lot. Like, like when me and Dad are watching something that's like kind of emotional, I'm always like, just to like, I don't know, be fun. But
It'd be fun. But like, do you actually cry though?
no, not really. Last time I cried, real tears.
Or like just anything that you can think of, like.
Okay, I don't know if this is the last time I cried. It probably is, because I can't think of anything after that. But this is a really weird situation. So, my pet Smokey. Smokey was my first cat for the audience. He was our household pet. He was my little boy. And, he's just this, like, old cat. He was 14. I think
He was
16.
really old. He was 16, I think.
He was 16. And he passed away in August before we left for vacation. That completely tore me up, man. Because it was basically the first time that I had to make the decision to put him down. Which in the end, Dad kind of made the decision, but that was still like days of torment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the last time I cried. But what kind of bothers me about that is that our Oma, who we were really close to, like that woman was like our whole life. Oma was 94 and she passed away in September, and I still have not cried about that ever. Like, it happened and I felt sad about it, but I've never felt like depressed or cried or anything about that. I don't feel like I've even grieved yet.
Yeah, but I feel like that's just how you are as a person. Like, it doesn't mean that you're like unfeeling towards people. I just feel like you are much more emotional about animals.
That's true. Because
Than you
animals
are
are
about people.
innocent. Like, Smokey didn't do any. Well, Oma was.
And like
I don't know.
Oma, we kind of saw it coming. And I mean, like, Smokey we did too, but I feel like Smokey was a lot more sudden than Oma. And I feel like Oma was just like suffering a lot in the end, so it was just like kind of a peaceful way for her to go.
I feel like also my work has something to do with it. I work in a nursing home, just so you know. And a lot of backstory about Makiah. So I work in a nursing home, so I see old people, and every day, but not every day, but most of the time.
Yeah, so maybe you just like grown like not immune, but like you just grew a strength towards it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even when I was a kid, I was never emotional about people, so I feel like that's what kind of made me feel like I was born to be a nurse.
Yeah.
You know?
But like, it's not that you're not sympathetic, because you definitely are. Like, you definitely are like, oh, okay, I feel for you, Like, you always go up to people and you're like the first one to like hold their hand or something like that. You're so ready to like help people. Like, especially at Oma's funeral. Like, Dad was crying and he was like really upset, and you kind of like patted your hand on his back and you were like rubbing his back and stuff to make him feel more comfortable. And like, you definitely have a heart when it comes to those things, but I feel like you see it more for other people that are suffering more. You don't really suffer within yourself. You just feel for those who are suffering.
I got a free pass on grief.
Well, yeah, like, not... I mean, yeah, but like, in a sense, you still grieve for Oma. I know that. Like, you still feel bad about her dying.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I mean,
you
like,
don't really, like...
her.
Yeah, but like, you don't really, like, feel, like, depressed about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's one thing that I'm kind of thankful for, because when I get depressed, it gets really bad.
Yeah.
And I haven't been depressed for a while, which is really good, so.
Good.
Good.
I'm glad for that.
So, Madison, are we satisfied with my answer?
Yeah, if you were.
Okay. What is it? When was
When
the
was
last time you cried, and why?
And why? Last time I cried Last time I cried was actually last night. I cry every day.
Was it because of Wonka?
No, but that was a really good movie.
I don't know. I kind of have expectations, but not really for that movie.
It was such a good movie.
Okay.
You should definitely go see it. I'm going to see it with Natalie, and you can come.
Then I can finally meet Natalie. Oh my god, I haven't met that girl yet. And
Yeah.
I told Dad about her.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm like, Dad. Like, because he was asking me if I'm interested in anyone specifically, because, you know,
But, like, I feel like you will be interested in that, but, like, at the same time, I feel like you won't be in. Like, there's some things that I look at Nat, and I'm like, maybe Makiah wouldn't be so much. Because, like, Nat is, like, really into Christmas and stuff like that, and I looked at that, and I'm like, if they were together, like...
That'd definitely be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, right. I was like, definitely Makiah's not into Christmas and stuff like that. But anyway, I was just, like, thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, Makiah could be with Nat, but, like, also I'm like, yeah, but no. And I feel like maybe she isn't, like... I feel like her looks aren't so much your type, but I don't know that because you've never met her.
Yeah.
So
But that's also the thing. I told Dad about her.
And I don't have any pictures of her or anything.
That sucks. But I told Dad about her, and, where was I going with this? I told him about her, and, like, she's, like, my crush right now, even though I've never met her before. I don't know how you can have a crush on someone before even meeting them, but just, like, based on what you tell me about her, I don't even know that much about her.
Yeah, honestly, though. But,
I have a crush on a person that doesn't exist for me yet.
Yeah. Those are the best type of crushes. But Bluey.
But
anyway. So, I feel like Nat is, like, a very, like, good person. Like, when you think of, like, a good person, like, you think, like, doing things for others, caring so much. I literally wrote her a card, and I told her, like, I'm so glad that you're my friend. You do so much for me. I'm so thankful for you. And I love you so much, and this and that. And I just wrote her a card, and she started crying.
Dang.
She's like, you're gonna make me cry. I was like, I'm sorry.
But how?
Well, she's just, like, that much of a touchy-feely person. Like, you literally show her the slightest bit of love and affection, and she'll probably be like, this is the best day of my life. You know, like...
Madison. Making me feel some type of way for a person I haven't met yet.
But, like, she's such, like, a genuine, like, golden heart of sunshine. Like, I don't really know how else to say it. Like, she's just so, like, bright and sunshiny. I just love her personality. It's, like, very, like... It's very, like, contagious, I guess. Like, just being around her just makes me happy. So...
Interesting.
Yeah, but... I can definitely set you up.
That's a conversation for another time, but...
Yeah, but anyway.
When was the last time you cried?
Yesterday. I cried last night because... Well, the whole entire thing, like, was with Nadine and I, because we were kind of arguing. Again. But, like, it wasn't, like, bad, but it was kind of, like, bad. Because I said something, and I thought it was stupid that he got offended about it. But, like, I thought it was just stupid that he got offended about it. But
I feel like that's where a lot of your arguments come from.
Right.
Like, he gets offended by something you say when you didn't really mean it.
Right. And that's the thing that I said about, like, earlier when I said that, like, oh, well, when I get upset, I just say stuff. But, like, in this case, I was saying something about how, like, he's patriotic towards America and not Bangladesh where he was born. And, like, I just said, like, oh, well, it's kind of funny that you're more patriotic towards America than you weren't even born here. Like, I just kind of, like, made that comment.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really mean it as, like, a joke, but, like, saying, like, oh, well, you can't be patriotic towards America. But, like, I never said that. But, like, at the same time, I feel like that's how he took it. And he's like, he kind of got like offended about it, where he's like, well, just because I was born there doesn't mean that I need to like it more over there instead of over here. And like he kind of took it as an offense of like I didn't think that he was like
loyal to his roots or something.
Kind
Does
of.
that make sense?
But like at the same time, like he likes America more and he's more patriotic towards America. And like I just thought it was stupid that he got so offended about it because I didn't mean it that way. Like I didn't mean like, hey, like I didn't mean it as like a joke to kind of rub it in that he's not from America or whatever. Like I didn't mean it in any type of way. But like at the same time he kind of took it and he like obviously got upset about it. And then I was like trying to apologize about it. And then like he kept bringing it up. And you know how that irritates me. Like when people bring stuff up, it irritates me so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point where like I get really mad and then I start saying stuff to the point where it's just getting worse. But anyway, so then I tried just pushing it away and I tried just letting the conflict go. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go to sleep at this point. I'm just going to go to sleep. Because I literally at that point only had like 5 hours left to sleep before I had to get up for work. And I was like, I just don't feel like dealing with this right now. We'll deal with it later. And then he was like, well, we should really resolve this. And so then, like, because we made a rule where we don't go to bed mad at each other. So, like, we try to just solve our arguments before we go to sleep.
There's a scripture about that. Do not let the sun set while you're still angry.
Yeah.
Good job, Maddie.
Yep, definitely following the scriptures.
So how'd that work out?
But anyway, so yeah, let's just say I got McMad and
McMad.
said some stuff. But anyway, so then I was like starting to get upset because he was like he was trying to let it go, and then I just like, you know how I get when I'm mad and I don't want to say anything to screw anything up, so I just like go quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just like trying to be quiet because I didn't want to say anything else to make him any more mad. So then I was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be quiet. And then I was like laying there and he was like still on the phone with me, and he's like, well, why don't you just speak your heart since you clearly have something on your mind and you're not saying it? And then I was like, well, I don't really want to say anything because I just know that it's going to make somebody mad. And he's like, well, just say it because it's better to get these things off your chest and, like, you're allowed to speak your mind. Like, you have feelings too. Like, just tell me what you're feeling. And so then I was like, well, I just feel like a lot of the stuff you say to me is contradictory, and I feel like I said that and I, like, put a lot of detail onto it, but at the same time, like, that's the one that stuck, was that I said he was contradictory. And what else did I say? He made it into terms that I didn't actually say. And he does that all the time, and that makes me mad. But then I got more mad about that because he was kind of like taking words that I didn't say and like kind of making me like say them about him, like where I was like, because I told him that he was contradictory because sometimes he tells me to speak my mind, and then other times he says that like I should just not say mean things, and I'm like, okay, but that's what's on my mind. Like
I have mean things to say.
I'm sorry, but I have like negative thoughts and feelings towards certain things, and that's what's in my heart. That's what's on my mind. It's just I want to say those negative things and just have people know that my opinion about it. And then he tells me other times where he's like, oh, well, you just should keep your bad thoughts to yourself and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, but like you just told me to speak my mind about this. So like, what do I do?
Which one?
I'm like, which one do I do? So, but like that was just kind of that. But like overall, like I kind of understood where he was coming from, because sometimes he's like, oh, well, I get that you're depressed, but you can't be depressed all the time. Like, he didn't say that. He said it obviously in a much more like nice way. Like I guess he's like, I just hate seeing you depressed, and I don't want to see you depressed all the time, and I just feel like we're always so mad and upset all the time, and I just feel like we haven't had a good moment in a while. And so like we'll go off and on that tangent of like, we do still have a lot of good moments, but it's just like a lot of the time we'll like one of us will be depressed, and recently that's been a lot of the time because both of us are going through like a bad episode right now. But a lot of the times like one of us will be depressed or the other one will be depressed, and then that'll tear the other one down because now we're using each other as like a therapy session when in reality we shouldn't be, but like that's just what's going on. So
I have a TikTok for that, but I'm going to pull it up later so that we don't waste time.
yeah, but like, that was just, like, the whole reason why I cried last night, because I was just, like, getting, like, very, like, tangled up, because I was like, I want to be mad, but, like, I don't want to make him mad, but, like, I want to be mad, and I want to let my irritation out, and let him know, like, hey, this is irritating me, but, like, at the same time, I can't say that, because then he'll get upset at me, and I don't want him to be upset at me, and I don't want to give him a reason to be upset, because, like, I love him, and I obviously don't want to make him depressed or upset or anything like that, but, like, at the same time, like, he was doing things, and, like, not doing things, but, like, he was saying things, and I had an opinion about it, and I felt, like, tied up because I couldn't share it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of annoying.
That's what I like to call wet anger.
Yeah.
When it's like your anger is like swelling up inside you so much, that's where the tears come from. They're just like your anger is just like bursting out of you like an ocean.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it was, actually. Last night I was just mad, and I was like, I was just irritated. I was like, I just wanted to, like, kind of brush it off and go to sleep. Like, I just kind of wanted to get that away from me. And, like, I just really wasn't in the mood to argue. I just really wasn't in the mood to say anything or do anything. I just was like, I just want to go to bed at this point. And then he was like, well, we need to resolve this. And I was like, I don't want to. But
let's just go to bed not as angry as we could be at each other.
Like, I'm glad that we did resolve it, because, like, we worked everything out, obviously. But it's still, like, at the same time, I'm like, I'm thinking back on it, and I'm just still, like, kind of irritated. I'm still irritated about it. But, like, I want to let it go. Like, I want to let that irritation go, but I'm still irritated.
I can't think of the word for that, but it's like regret. It's like you regret that you couldn't resolve it better. I think that's what you're holding on to.
Not really that I couldn't resolve it better. It's just that I didn't get to resolve it the way that I wanted to.
Okay.
And we kind of resolved it the way that he wanted to. But, like, that was a rule that we made for each other, is that we wouldn't go to bed angry at each other, so I guess that was still my way. But, like, at the same time, I was like, I really wanted to just walk away and just avoid it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, let's do this. Let's solve this conflict right now. And he was kind of like getting someone to exercise when they want to take a nap. Like, that's exactly how it felt. Like, I really don't want to do that, and I really just want to go away, and I really just want to be lazy. But at the same time, someone's kind of, like, pulling my leg and just, like, pulling me in, like, come on, let's go. So it's just, like, that kind of annoyance in my mind where I'm like, ugh. Like, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what got me so irritated.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that was the last time I cried.
Next.
It says 38 minutes.
Oh my god, already?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it has a little heartbreak. Today I cried. No, I'm just kidding.
Today I cried 2 minutes ago.
Describe an experience that made you realize you were on the wrong path.
Damn.
When have you been on the wrong path, and what is your experience when you realized?
Mm-hmm. I feel like an instance where I realized that I'm on the wrong path, probably when I was working at Domino's, and I was, like, hanging out with bad people. They were, like, smoking and stuff like that, and I was like, you know what, I shouldn't be hanging out with these people. And then I just, like, I kind of realized that, and I was like, you know what, I really am not, like, living my best life. I'm not living the life that I want to live. And that's when I quit Domino's. And I deleted all those friends out of my life. Like, that was literally the only thing that I could think of. But, like, I don't want to be around people that are smoking and, like, cursing all the time and, like, just making my life miserable. And that job was just making me miserable. I was like, I'm really not living my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like that was the closest thing I could relate to being on the wrong path. Like, I feel like if I went on that path, I would have gotten into doing drugs, and I would have been, like, probably really unhealthy. Yeah. And I probably wouldn't be eating good, and I probably would still be at Domino's, and it just was not a good life.
You wouldn't have met Nadine.
Nope.
Nope.
That would have been the worst. And I know that sounds super sarcastic, but it actually would have been the worst. Yeah, I do love him very much, and I'm very glad that I have him. And I would not have lived it any other way. But, yeah, I feel like I really wouldn't live my life any other way. Like, if I could think about it, I would still go to Walmart and I'd still want to meet Nadeed. Like, granted, I would want to have a little bit of a different thing with him. Like, I wouldn't have wanted, like, all of our special moments to be in, like, the parking lot of a Walmart. Like, our first kiss was literally in a Walmart parking lot, and that was the most, like, unromantic thing ever. But, like, at the same time, like, it was romantic for us.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that, the path that I went on was the good path.
Nice.
So I feel like that kind of, there's kind of like a moment of clarity where you get that, like, it hits you and you're like, oh man, like, what am I doing with my life? And I feel like that's what I had when I was working at Domino's. That, like, there was, like, one night when I just came home and I was like, why am I doing that? Like, why am I there? Why am I hanging out with those people? I was like, they're not bringing anything beneficial to my life, and neither is that job. So I was like, why am I there? So, just that moment of clarity, like, really hits you in the head. But anyway, describe an experience that made you realize that you were on the wrong path.
I don't know. I haven't been on any, like, severely wrong paths that I can think of until, like, I don't know. Today I feel like I'm not on a path, I'm at, like, a crossroads.
How so?
So, like, on one end, this is where it's all gonna come. Okay, this is. Woo! Okay, here we go. On one end, I have being in a loving relationship with a woman. But on the other end, I have, like, an important relationship with God, because the way that we live and the way that we were brought up is that everything homosexual is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm secure in knowing that I am not
Straight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I can't be in a happy relationship with a man.
Right.
And, like, Dad put it a good way. I would experiment, but that's not fair to the guy if I know that I'm just not going to be in it.
Right.
Why is it hard to breathe? Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but, so, I don't know. The way I was brought up, the whole gay path is the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I guess I do believe it, but I just don't know. I don't know which path I would go down.
Do you feel like there would be anything that would either bring you closer to going down that path or drive you away from going down that path?
I don't think anything would drive me away, but something that would drive me towards is definitely, like, finding a girl that I really like. Like, right now I don't really have anyone that would, like, entice me to be in a relationship. But if I did find someone that I got really close to and I really love, that might make me go down that path. But then at the other side, it's like the other path is, like, has me on a little leash, and it's, like, pulling me, like, come on, Makiah, you have to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
This is the better way, you know it.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, it's just hard, because, like, I don't want to be on a leash. Free the leash, kids.
Free the leash, children. But I kind of understand what you're saying, because, like, there's been a lot of times where, like, my relationship with God and my relationship with the things that I want in life kind of got in the middle of each other. And they kind of had to battle it out to, like, figure out what I wanted to do more. And honestly, like, I look at the past things that I've decided to do. And, like, I might not be proud of everything, but I wouldn't change anything that I did. And, like, it's not the fact that I feel, like, sorry or regret, because I don't. I don't feel any regret for anything that I did. But at the same time, it's like, there are certain things that I wish I would have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't regret doing those things, but I wish that I would have been a little bit more smart about my choices. And I wish I would have handled it a little bit better than what I did.
Yeah.
So I feel like this one is kind of like one of those things where you have, like, two choices and you're like, okay, well, I can do this or I can do that. But I feel like with your choice, it's a little bit different because, like, one way leads to a path and the other way leads to a completely opposite path.
Yeah, like if I go down one, I can't go back to the other.
Yeah. I kind of see your point. But, like, one thing that I've been thinking about, like, if you do decide, and, like, this might be personal, so you don't have to answer it, but, like, if you do decide that, like, you want to be with a girl, and, like, you decide to get with a girl and stuff like that, and then you find out, like, oh, well, maybe I was wrong and I don't feel that way. Like, what would you do then?
I guess break up.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't want to lead a girl on if my heart isn't in it.
But, like, would you go back to loving God?
I think I would do my best to go back. I mean, you mean like if I discovered that, like, maybe I'm not?
Yeah, like, maybe you're not gay or something like
Maybe
that.
I'm not. Okay. Well, if I wasn't, then yeah. If I wasn't, I don't know. It sounds weird to say, but if I wasn't, I feel like my life would be so much easier. Like, I could just go down the path that Mom wants me to go down, and Dad wants me to go down, and everyone wants me to go down. But, like, right now for me, it's hard because, like, this is just the way I feel, and there's nothing I can do about it.
I don't think that everyone wants you to go down a certain path. I think people just want you to be happy.
Yeah, and they all have their own idea of what's going to make me happy, but I just don't know.
I see that point. I feel like, yeah, maybe some people are kind of pressuring you to go down a certain path in life, but I don't think that you should listen to people that are trying to pressure you.
Yeah.
Because if they're trying to pressure you to do something you don't want to do, then that's not really the best thing for you. They're not really looking out for your best interest if it's something you don't want to do.
I guess so. But then
and, like, that's kind of my mental attitude about it, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah. I forget where I was going with that.
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But, like, granted, like, sometimes, like, advice is good. Like, some people will tell you, like, oh, well, if you do this, then that's gonna happen, and, like, it might not turn out as good as you think. Like, that is good advice to listen to. But if somebody's telling you, like, oh, well, I'm gonna judge you if you don't do that the way that I think you should do it, that's not really looking out for your best interest. Like, I think of, like, just in your situation, like, if you go down the path of, like, being gay and you decide to get with someone, and then, like, the people that are, like, on God's side of the path, they're gonna look at you and be like, oh, well, why is she doing that? Doesn't she know that that's wrong? I feel like maybe they would try and pressure you to not do it, but at the same time, they aren't really understanding what you want.
That's true. And, like, our whole belief is, like, the system is temporary. Like, everything you struggle with now is only temporary. It'll get better in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I don't have the struggles. Like, they're still here, and they're still really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, my struggle isn't, like, something that's gonna be bad for me. Like, if I choose to be gay, that's, like, more than likely, that's gonna make me happy for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah,
and also, sorry to cut you off, but
okay.
Also I feel like the whole being gay thing has made me feel doubt about the religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it really true? How can we know? Why should I rely on this? You know? And, like, that kind of makes me feel bad because it's like, this is something I've believed in my whole life. And I still believe there is a God, obviously, but I don't know. There are just things that I don't understand.
I feel like that's how it is about religion. Like, there's a lot of it you don't understand, and it's a lot of it based on trust. A lot of it is just based on pure faith or blind trust. And I feel like that's where a lot of the questions come in of, like, is it really something that I should put my faith into, or is it not? And, like, the idea of, like, do I want to go down that path with full blind faith, or do I want to go after something that I want? And that's kind of a hard decision to make because you feel like the blind faith is the right way to just blindly go into it, and just because everyone tells you that that's the right way. So I feel like your mind is like programmed like, oh yeah, I was raised this way to believe this. Everyone says that it's right. Everyone says that it's true. So I should just go that way. But in reality, you kind of need to think like
There
about,
is no, like, fact or
there
proof.
is no fact or proof about it. So you kind of need to put your own mental thinking of like, okay, do I want to believe in that? And do I want to go down that path? Or do I want to just
abandon ship.
Or do I
Go
want to
another
just
way?
go that way? You know, like go the other way. And I feel like that's a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
So. And you're like, yep.
It sure is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is. But you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure I will, one way or another.
And the people that really do love you will notice your choice, and they'll still love you, even though you made a choice.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. And if they don't, then they really never loved you in the first place. And I know that sounds bad, but that's how I see it.
True. Like, if you can't love me even when you disagree with me,
then you never really loved me.
Yeah, then you don't love me at all.
Yeah. And I feel bad because that sounds so bad, but like at the same time it's like, it's kind of true.
It is. Like, if you can't love me and all of me, it's not love.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, like, there's a certain point where it's like, you don't want people to just blindly love you because, like, you're you, and just be like, oh yeah, I'm okay with everything that you do. Because, like, then you could be like a smoker, and you could be like a murderer, and somebody would just be like, yeah, I'm totally okay with that. But, like, at the same time, like, it's not that extreme. Like, if it's just something where it's like, okay, I'm making a choice to be gay, are you still going to love me, or are you not? That's still just kind of like a thing of like, are you going to accept my beliefs? Are you going to accept my lifestyle? Or are you not? And that's a point where it shows like who really cares about you and who doesn't.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a sad thing that I've been thinking about. It's like, if I did ever get into a relationship with a girl, who would still keep in contact with me and who would just completely cut me off?
Yeah. And honestly though, like, you don't really know who unless if it actually happens.
Yeah.
Like, you could probably guess who would be the first to cut you off, and like, I would look at it this way. My opinion, I'd be like, well, if I know that they're gonna cut me off the minute I decide to change my lifestyle, are they really my friend? No. So why am I talking to them like they're my friend? Why are they my friend now? If I know that they wouldn't be my friend if I changed the slightest thing about my life.
I don't think about it that way. I think, like, if they cut me off, how important are they that they would influence my decision? Like, if I, like, say mom, for example. Mom is really important to me. And, like, I know that if I make my decision, mom is most likely to cut me off. I've already told her, but do I want to be in a loving relationship with a partner, or do I want a loving relationship with my mom? And, like, other parts of the family, too.
Yeah. And, like, I kind of see your point. Like, I always thought that, like, mom would want to kick me out after I got a boyfriend and all that other stuff. Like, once I started living my life, mom would be like, okay, well, yep. But, like, mom is not that way. Mom is much more loving and caring than that. But, like, at the same time, like, I always grew up in fear because she was always like, oh, you shouldn't get a boyfriend or nothing like that until you're older, and this and that. But Mom is obviously much more loving and understanding than, like, we feared that she would be.
Yeah, that's like most of the reason why she's the last person I told.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know, I'm just afraid she's going to judge me so much and just like, I'm going to get kicked out and I'm going to live on my own just because I told her about this.
I feel like Mom is more afraid of being left out than she is of living with someone who has a different lifestyle than hers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, look at Dad. She married someone just complete wild card there.
Yeah, that is a wild card.
But like, even just like, I don't know how to describe the whole situation. Mom is definitely not hard-hearted.
No, she's not. But, like, she comes off that way.
Yeah. Because it's like, I raised you to be this way. What's happening now?
Right. And the other day she said something to me. She was like, both of you girls are making choices that I don't really agree with, and it makes me feel like I'm a failure as a parent for not raising you the right way. And I was like,
I feel like both of our situations are completely out of your control. Like, no matter what you would have
right,
done, it would have happened this way.
I'm like, Mom, there's literally nothing you could have done. I'm like, you still raised us good. Like, it's fine. But, like, at the same time, it kind of stung me a little bit. But, like, I know she only said that because she's, like, upset about it. So I, like, tried not to take that to heart too much in, like, my mind. And I was just like, oh, well, she only said that because she feels a certain way about our situations. And I know that her opinion is so much different than ours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, like, my opinions are obviously not the same as hers. And yours are not the same as hers. So I feel like she just is taking time to decompress. And I feel like I can't let her words that come out in that moment affect my way of thinking about her.
That's good.
So I'm, like, trying to reel myself in a little bit from being irritable. But
another thing that she said, and I didn't even notice this until Dad pointed it out. Like, of course it hurt when she said it, but, like, I didn't really think about it until Dad said it. I feel like that's how a lot of my emotions are. It's like, people can say things to me, and I don't really think about it until someone else says, yo, that was messed up. And I'm like, oh, it was?
It was?
I don't know. I don't
and then there's me.
I don't
get
offended.
You say it to me in the moment, and I'm like, what did you just say to me? And then later on, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. But anyway, what she said, apparently at some point during our family conversation, she was like, Satan is taking my family one person at a time.
Uh-huh.
And
she said that like 3 times.
Yeah, she did. And I didn't think much of it. I'm like, yeah, that's sad. And I'm sorry that I feel this way, but I just can't do anything about it. And then Dad brought that up, and he's like, I don't agree with that. She shouldn't have said that. It's like she's trying to, like, guilt you all for no reason. And I was, like, thinking about that, and I'm like, well, I did agree with her before.
Well, I did agree with her before. But, like, at the same time, like, I see her point, because she's very religious, and she's very, like, religiously balanced in her way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, in her way of thinking, she sees us making bad choices, and she's like, oh, great, Satan's creeping into my family, and this and that, and
she's not wrong, it probably is, but...
Right, but, like, at the same time, it's like, well... sorry? Like, what are we supposed to say about that?
I'm sorry, I'm less powerful than Satan himself.
Yeah. But, like, at the same time, it's like, well, just because we're making choices doesn't mean that it's bad. I mean, in the eye of a religious person, it's bad. But, like, in our eyes, it's like, well, we're just trying to figure out life, man.
I'm only 20 years old.
Just trying to do it our way. But
I'm 20 years old, surrounded by a world that says all of this is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one problem about living and growing up religious in today's society. Today's society was not built for religion.
No. At least from religion from our teaching.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not built for modest religion. Yeah, with standards so high.
Like, the standards we were brought up with
are very high.
Are just, like, completely tossed away in the world today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately. The world's a messed up place.
It is, really.
The world today is such a messed up place.
Alright, anything to add?
But I feel like
Okay,
Yeah.
man.
we'll probably have to
That's all.
exit the cards. But the one last thing.
Half an hour minimum.
Oops.
Oops.
Anyway. The one last thing. Do you feel like there was anything unsaid in this conversation? Something that you want to say, but you don't think that you did, or you didn't think that you could?
Yeah, not that I didn't think that I could, but I wanted to bring this up and I just didn't.
Like,
Just to like move on with time things. You and Nadeed, I think you fight a lot, yes, but you are also very good at resolving your conflicts in a timely manner. Like, for as much as you guys fight, it's like
resolved within the next day.
yeah, if you have 100 fights, 99 of them are resolved in the time of the fight.
Right. That's one thing that I do appreciate about Nadeed is just like, trust me, he's very stubborn, and he does get on my nerve, and I'm very stubborn also, and I get on his nerve. So it's just like we both have a personality that is so much alike, but so much different. So we like just get on each other's nerves enough, but we both know how to resolve it because we both want it resolved the same way.
Yeah, and I mean, like, no couple is ever gonna have a relationship where they don't argue. So that's why I'm so glad that you guys are like really like building up and strengthening your ability to resolve problems.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's better to get this out of the way before you're married, and then when you get married, it's all, like, gone to shit, and that's where divorce comes in.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing good. Even, like, it sounds bad to say that fighting is good, but you're doing good.
I feel like fighting is gonna happen in any relationship, whether you're like in romantic relationship or friendship or anything like that. Like, you're bound to have conflict in life. So I just feel like me and Nadeed are kind of learning how to deal with it when we get to it. Like, I feel like we're slowly trying to figure each other out and figure out how we both react to conflict, and how we both kind of try to help each other see the different sides of the situation. Like, each other's perspective. We're both trying to be more open and more communicative about each other's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's something that we're trying to build on right now in our relationship.
Communication is key.
Yep. But anyway, my unsaid thing. I don't really know if I have any unsaid things. I kind of said everything I wanted to say. But if I could say anything.
Or, like, anything you wanted to touch on a little more?
I feel like
we missed Jeopardy tonight.
Oh. But anyway, I feel like the one thing that I am most nervous about when it comes to you, or something that I feel like I don't really have any unsaid things of like things like I really want to tell Makiah this, but I'm too nervous.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like the one thing that I'm afraid of is like, if you find out that like me and Nadeed have like a kid before we're married, or something like that. Like, I feel like you would see that as like, I feel like you would be judgmental about it. And I hate to say that because I know that you probably wouldn't be, but like in the back of my mind, I'm like secretly kind of anxious that you'll just like not talk to us anymore, or you'll just try to like push us out. But I feel like you wouldn't, but like that's like sitting in the back of my mind of like, what if she does that?
I've already come to a decision about that before you even like brought it up.
Okay.
So, what I want to say about that is that before I struggled with my problem, yes, I probably would think about like, oh, well, get them out of your life, Makiah. That's bad association. But now that I feel like we've like kind of like, I don't even know how we could have, but we bonded more over our struggles, which I feel like we already bonded like to the max before. But apparently there's a whole other level, but so yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would not cut you off. I've already come to the decision because I've already thought about it. If you guys had a kid before you were married, I would be so involved in that kid's life and I would support you no matter what.
That's nice.
Got your back.
Yeah, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, because I mean, like, we all struggle. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, like, if you had a kid before, like, we've already dealt with that problem. Well, not that problem specifically, but we've already talked about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And now we've talked about it, and now we've gotten a certain answer.
Yeah, that's true. But like recently I feel like it's just been bothering me so much because I'm like worried that it will happen. Because I'm not like thinking that like, oh yeah, I would definitely want a kid before we're married. But like at the same time, like if it were to happen, I feel like it would like, it's like something that is very realistic that could happen. And I feel like that's just something that scares me the most right now. I feel like that's like one of my worst anxieties.
You know what that kind of brings up in me? I feel like since I've been having my little struggle with being gay, I've kind of like taken a step back from blind faith in religion. Not like completely like, oh, cut off the Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not going to meetings anymore. I'm not doing anything with them. Not that, but just like taking a step back and thinking about like myself, I guess. Because like I've always followed the religion because that's just my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm discovering more about myself, I'm kind of like taking a step back from that and seeing what else is important to me.
Right. Like I feel like that's important too, like self-reflection and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like that doesn't have to be my whole personality.
Yeah, that's true. You do have other things that make you like who you are, other than just who you're associated with or what you believe in. Like you also have other things, other aspects of your like mental thinking of like, do I really want to be that person or do I want to kind of try and create my own person?
Yeah. And like unfortunately sometimes what you think is important to you conflict. And like in my situation I have to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's kind of nice to just like take a step back and just like look at everything and not just like, this is what I have to do.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's nice to consider the options.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's it for me too.
Alright. I guess we're done.
Thanks
Thank you
for
for my
inviting me.
TED Talk.